purpose of the summer APUSH preview is to give students a basic foundation of understanding of American history before they go into coursework in their regular AP course. I like to do a zoomed out to a zoomed in point of view. So we will do a broad overview at first. And in fact, in the very first class, we do an overview of the entirety of American history from beginning to end in the broadest strokes possible so that students have a foundation of exactly what everything in the course is going to cover. And then we zoom in one step closer. And so we talk about broader perspectives and the elements that are true throughout most of American history, and then we keep moving forward with based on how well students absorb those particular aspects of the curriculum. But ultimately, the goal for all the students is that before they even start their class, anytime their teacher mentions some new material, it won't be completely new to the students, and they'll be able to absorb the information that their teacher is giving them it's a lot easier for them to absorb it. The main concepts, the broad trends of American history, things like the origins of slavery, the effects of slavery, expansion, capitalism and business, militarism, isolationism versus expansionism, these kind of things, none of it will be alien to the students when they go into the class, so they can maintain an edge, and it'll make their coursework in their AP class easier, and it'll make the course much more effective as well. On top of that, we'll provide perspective on what the test is actually covering. We will be focused on exactly what skills students need to get a 5 on the test when it comes to the test, so that, again, the whole time they're getting their coursework, the whole time they're doing their studying, everything is much more effective because they've got that base foundation. The mystery is removed, and they can apply themselves more practically and effectively. Yes, I already kind of talked about it in the previous responses, but to summarize, the curriculum is focusing on a broad overview to make sure that the primary, most important concepts of American history are not foreign or alien or unknown to students before they start their curriculum. So we'll go over each unit in the curriculum, and we'll talk about the narrative, the overall story regarding what I call Persia GT, which is similar to what a lot of the styles are, and is actually goes with what the organization of the AP curriculum goes on, which is Persia GT stands for politics, economics, religion, society, ideology, art, geography, and technology. And by talking about how those interact, you can learn about the history. For each unit, 1 through 9, there will be narrative for actually each one of those letters. So there's a political story in Unit 1, a political story in Unit 2, an economic story in Unit 1, an economic story in Unit 2, and so on. Now, not all of the stories are very complicated, but by and large, if a student can discuss one of those topics specifically, if they can discuss those topics specifically in each unit, then they're going to be ready for the test even by next year. If you can talk about religion during the Industrial Revolution, then that's the level of specificity that is the target. So we'll talk in general about the trends throughout the units and throughout the curriculum about those particular topics. As we talk about those subjects, students will be working on a collaborative timeline that collects the information that they are gaining through research and discussion, that will allow them to visualize their notes and visualize their work and visualize the representation, visualize the relationships among these different data points and see how they connect together. The final result will be a resource that the students can use in the future and they can refer back to easily so that they can refresh their memory during their actual AP coursework. In addition, we will talk about essay writing and multiple choice strategy. Multiple choice strategy is a small component, but still an important one. But primarily for homework, they will be doing writing assignments about how to craft good paragraphs, good responses, good logical responses to prompts and questions, and we'll work on how to answer short answer questions and long answer questions and document-based questions as well. There should be a homework assignment related to writing every other day at least, since we're doing a daily class. I believe it's every other day, then in which case there will be at least a short writing assignment every day. every class period. The first preview class is going to cover, first of all, a broad overview of American history and talk about the themes and trends throughout American history. One of the first issues of American history we'll talk about is the arrival of Columbus into the New World and the Columbian Exchange and the importance of the Columbian Exchange on the future of American history. We'll talk about, I have what I call the three paradoxes of American history, one of which is like the positive things that people often associate with America, and then the negative sides of the things that people often associate with America. So, for example, one word that at least a lot of Americans ascribe to themselves is the concept of freedom, but that on the other hand, with freedom comes the freedom to do whatever you want to, means you have the freedom to do whatever you want to others. And so that's a paradox. Another one is multiculturalism, the melting pot, open borders, immigration. It's a land for everybody, the American dream. On the other hand, there's widespread racism and xenophobia, and those two things work in parallel to one another and against one another. And so America is neither, we'll talk about the way that those conflicting forces play out in American history, that it's never just one story or another story. America is not the greatest thing in the universe, but neither is it the greatest evil that has ever been leashed upon the world. We talk about how to notice the difference and talk about nuance when we're talking about history, and especially when we're talking about the United States. Yes, no problem at all. The assignments every day are going to be some aspect of a reading assignment, so that the students are going to have to do a little bit of research on their own on the materials that I give them and the directions that I point them for further research. And they will build their own components of their timeline for the Persia GT that I talked about earlier. So there'll always be some amount of research or reading to do there, and then there will be a writing assignment related to argument and analysis necessary for the free response questions on the writing part of the test. So altogether, there's always going to be a research and note-taking component and a writing component every day. The end goal for that work is that they should be able to write a successful essay that pays attention to the essay rubric for the DBQ, LEQ, and SAQ. And they will have a completed timeline of American history that they can refer back to when they use in their coursework. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and healthy.